example again. Yes, society has this, this is society, a bunch of us walking around. Yes, there's this institutional structure of the Constitution. That's my conception of a constitution. And there's buildings, with windows and houses and stuff. And that makes an objective or tangible ordering and keeping together of society. But what's more important for Berger is how all this stuff is inside of us, how it's in our heads, how it's in our bodies, and how it's a part of our relationships with each other. So to bring it maybe more closely back to religion, we could say that there's these buildings out there that have, religious symbols, whether it's a cross or Star of David or whatever, and there's holy books. Again, that's my conception of a book. That's the Bible. And yeah, all that stuff is objective. It's out there, but for Berger, what's important is how it gets into us and how it guides our lives. So what happens, Berger asks, when all this falls apart? And this is where the title of the book comes in. Berger's theory, as I mentioned, is called the sacred canopy. And what Berger has basically argued up to this point, or what I've tried to diagram, is that every society lives under the sacred canopy. Okay, so here's our people again. Hopefully you can see them all right. And this sacred canopy is the culture's or the society's meaning-making system. So let's just say this is us, United States of America. Let's use that as a society. But you could think of this in terms of this canopy is the Catholic religion, or this canopy is the University of Arizona. You can think of it that way. We're talking of a social group like this. But basically, religion is this utmost sacred canopy, because what religion does, and this is important for Berger, is religion is particularly good at connecting order in our society with order of the universe. Basically saying, if our society feels ordered and meaningful and together, that's intimately connected with what's beyond our society. And the beyond could be, across the Pacific Ocean in another country, but it can be this broad sense of what humans often experience as above and beyond, and sort of a divine sense. And what Berger says is that above and beyond in the divine sense is really important for humans, because humans make this connection that if we're ordered, that above and beyond is ordered, and if that above and beyond is ordered and all getting along and working well, then we will be the same. So Berger writes, though, let me get it here. Berger writes, well, it's possible that things may start to fall apart a bit. He writes, the world begins to shake in the very instant that its sustaining conversation begins to falter. The socially established nomos, and that's an important word you should pick up. Nomos basically means social order. It's a Greek term. May thus be understood as a shield against terror. Okay? Put differently, the most important function of society is nomization. So what he's saying is this shield, this sacred canopy is the nomos. It's the order that we have in our society because that we make. How we keep talking with each other, and how culture keeps going, society keeps going. We understand all this. We have meaning. There's meaning in our lives, especially our social lives, and it keeps order out. The ultimate danger of social separation is meaninglessness. The danger the most ultimate danger is the individual submerged in a world of disorder, senselessness, and madness. So in other words, if all this falls apart, the meaning system starts to crack, and then as the meaning system cracks, then all of a sudden the world starts to shake, and individuals don't feel any longer like they belong or that they're connected to their social group. Let me flip to one other one. So he writes on page 23, in other words, the marginal situations of human existence reveal the innate precariousness of all social worlds. Every nomos is an area of meaning carved out of a vast mass of meaninglessness, a small clearing of lucidity in a formless, dark, always ominous jungle. What Berger is saying is that without social order, the world falls apart, is dark, meaningless, can't sustain societies, can't sustain individuals. This is a pretty powerful conception of what society is. And this nomos, as I've already said without using the word, is connected with the cosmos. So if we think our social world is in order, that we have meaning, the nomos, then we usually also think that the cosmos, that which the humans often experience as above and beyond, is in order, and vice versa. So religion connects all this together. It connects individuals with the social order, with the cosmic order. But what happened, oh, and let me say one other thing. All this is supported by what Berger calls, and this is really important, plausibility structures. And what these are is, Berger says, well, how is it plausible, or in more layman's term, how is it likely or possible that individuals can keep this meaning system going? He says there's all sorts of structures. There'll be schools that socialize us in the same way. We might live in demarcated areas. So we live in the United States, other people live in other countries. So we've got boundaries that keep us together. You can think of this in terms of ethnic neighborhoods too, and how some ethnic cultures stay strong. It's because there's boundaries that keep people close. There's churches in a very religious way that offer roles that you can go and kind of keep them going, this system going. Now for Berger, and I'll finish off with these, he then asks, well, what is it possible for this to break down? If there's a canopy, isn't it possible for the canopy to break apart? And there's a couple of different ways the canopy can break. This evil can come from outside. So in the United States, think of 9/11, right? Think of an attack people experience as this kind of crashing in from outside of our sacred canopy into our lives. And this is the problem of theodicy, which means the question of why is it that evil things happen? Especially for people in a social world that thinks everything's ordered, how is it that something can come from outside and disrupt us, right? Can disrupt our sense of order. There's other problems that can occur. As we've noted before, conversation can kind of stop. And somebody can kind of wander away from the social group physically, but also mentally or intellectually. This is the problem that Durkheim talked about. It's called anomie, which is the threat to the social order of feeling like you're not connected, feeling like you've kind of drifted off, like you're no longer a part. And then there's one other class, well, two other threats for Berger. Death is a big one. So it's the question in this person's head of, well, what happens when I'm no longer here, when I'm literally no longer a part of these plausibility structures, when I no longer experience the nomos, my social nomos, my order, my connections, because I'm dead. Where do I go? That's a threat. And finally, there's one other threat, which is, aren't there other sacred canopies out there? So oftentimes I've been using the example of the United States. Well, what about India? Don't they have a sacred canopy over here, some far in the distance? What about China? Or if we talk about religions, what about Catholicism? What about Protestantism? What about Judaism? Mormonism? Can these all really be sacred canopies?